The cold night air bit my skin as I lay sprawled on the shoulder of the highway, watching the taillights of the car disappear into the distance. I could still hear her laughter echoing in my mind. My so-called wife, the woman who had promised love, trust, and partnership, believing the lies her daughter had whispered like poison into her ear. She had thrown me out of a moving vehicle, convinced that I was guilty of things I hadn't done, and for weeks I had carried the sting of betrayal not from her, but from the twisted words of someone I had treated like family. Those 3 weeks were hell. I moved through the days like a ghost, nursing wounds deeper than flesh could show. The humiliation, the disbelief, the quiet rage. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see the betrayal in her eyes, the way she looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was nothing. And yet, amidst the anger, a cold clarity began to form. I realized that I had a choice: crumble under the weight of her misjudgment, or turn the tables and reclaim my life. Her messages started after a week, tentative, filled with hollow concern. "Have you reflected on what happened?" she asked, her words dripping with false innocence, as if she could erase the past with a single question. I stared at my phone, feeling the old love and trust she had shattered clash violently with a simmering desire to finally show her the truth, that she could no longer control me with lies, fear, or deception. The plan had been forming quietly in my mind, each detail sharper than the last. I remembered every insult, every unjust accusation. Every night, I felt the cold brush of betrayal where warmth should have been. I realized she built a world where she was untouchable, and I was invisible, expendable. But even in my fury, I was careful. This wasn't about revenge born of anger. It was about justice, about reclaiming dignity that had been stripped from me. So, when she arrived at my apartment, full of that artificial softness she used to disarm me, asking if I had reflected, I let her smile settle. I let her believe that I was broken, that the humiliation had won. And then, with calm precision, I handed her a crisp folder: divorce papers. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The words caught somewhere between her lips and her mind. What is this?" she stammered. I watched her hand shake, saw her composure crumble as the realization hit. She had lost control. She had underestimated the quiet man she had scorned, the one who had endured humiliation without flinching, the one who had waited patiently for the moment where truth would finally speak louder than lies. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I didn't even argue. I simply looked her in the eye, a mixture of sorrow and strength, and said, "This is a reflection you wanted. It's my turn to decide now." In that instant, I understood the power of patience, of endurance. 3 weeks of being cast aside had forged a resolve stronger than any anger, sharper than any bitterness. Over the following days, she tried everything: pleas, tears, manipulation, but I remained unyielding. Each time she brought up her daughter's lies, I merely nodded, letting the silence speak volumes. The betrayal wasn't hers alone. It was a network of deceit she had trusted more than the man who had stood by her side for years. And now, the facade was crumbling, leaving her exposed in a way that money, power, or pride could never mend. As the divorce proceedings moved forward, I realized that the victory wasn't in the papers, the assets, or the legal victory. It was in reclaiming my sense of self, my freedom, my dignity. The woman who had thrown me out of a moving car now had to confront the consequences of her blind trust and lies, and there was nothing she could do to undo the truth I had preserved. In the quiet moments, when the rage faded and the dust settled, I felt a strange peace. Betrayal had once left me broken, but justice, patience, and resolve had rebuilt me stronger than before. And as I moved forward, unshackled by false love or deception, I understood the lesson fully. Sometimes the most devastating actions are not born of anger. They are born of clarity, endurance, and the quiet power of reclaiming what is rightfully yours. The woman who had cast me aside now faced a reality she had never anticipated, and I, at last, could walk forward with my head held high, free from lies, free from betrayal, and stronger than I had ever been.